Hello, YouTubers. I'm your host, Yasmin, and welcome to another episode of Homeless Veterans Tell All. In recent news, the death of Chef Anthony Bourdain from CNN shocked the world. When I heard of his passing that morning from Paris, I got out of bed, got on my knees to pray, and I began to weep. I wept not only for him, but also for the thousands of others who are suicidal. There's been a lot of talk in the news lately on suicide, and according to CNN, suicide rates have increased by 25% across the U.S. over the past 20 years. And that number is quite alarming because life is a precious gift, and one suicide is already one too many. Ladies and gentlemen, what you may not know is this: more than 20 veterans commit suicide every day. That's 22 times more than the civilian population, and let me tell you why that is. Many of our veterans who leave the service are unable to find their footing, unable to find jobs, unable to finish college, unable to get the assistance they need from the VA, unable to find a place of acceptance, unable to find a place where they belong. And 50,000 of them are now homeless across America. And today I'm driving and I'm on my way to interview one of them. Since the first episode aired, I finished college. I graduated from Norfolk State University, and I'm currently studying for my license so I can teach in the public schools in Virginia because I sense that I have so much to offer to the next generation. I got my life back, and that's great. But it wouldn't have served me any good to go on living my life and dismiss my own experiences with homelessness. Now that I'm on the other side of that experience, I feel it is my duty as a former homeless veteran to bring to light the issues that are still keeping our veterans on the streets. And that's why I came up with this channel. My vision in this project simply came out of a deep desire for our homeless veterans to have a voice and a platform because I have walked in their shoes. And walking in the shoes of a homeless person taught me that there is indeed purpose and meaning in our suffering. Homelessness also taught me that money, success, marriage, education, religion, and fame don't necessarily bring us happiness. I was able to rise above homelessness and graduate college because I have guts, because I had the audacity to believe in myself. I also found my hiding place in God. Under His wings, He is indeed a keeper. We live in a society today where Christianity is a turnoff for many people because TV preachers have now turned the gospel into a money-making, self-serving business known as the prosperity gospel. But I challenge you to give your life to God. Before we get to the interview, I want to say to you today, whether you have a platform like Donald Trump, like Oprah, or maybe you're an immigrant like me, maybe you're military personnel, or you're simply someone from the projects. I want you to know that there's life in you, there's potential in you, there are God-given gifts in you, there's purpose in you. You have so much to offer to the world, and if you're going through something, I want you to know that you're not alone. I have walked through some lonely places, through some dark places, and I wish I could loan you my confidence and my faith. So believe me when I say to you, my beloved, it's going to be okay. There are counselors standing by to help you on the suicide hotline, and here is the number. I want you to know that there's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in talking with a counselor. There's no shame in admitting that you're depressed, that you're broken, you're angry, you were raped, you were molested perhaps, you were abandoned, rejected, or addicted to something or to someone. I've learned that there's freedom in owning our pain and talking about it. There's a particular counselor I know, and I want to recommend him to you also. He is the center of my joy. He's my guide and my compass. He's the man from Galilee. I call him the chef who held the largest fish fry in human history. You know, before the world had our beloved chef Anthony Bourdain, it had Jesus Christ. He fed 5,000 in one sitting. He is the bread of life. He is the Son of God. He lives forever, and He wants to live in our hearts today. We'll be back in a moment. So we are back with our first guest today, Mr. Robert Minetree.
Yes.
Robert, welcome, and thank you so much for your time and wanting to share your story with us today.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for joining this conversation because homelessness among veterans is it's a major problem in our country right now, and it's a socioeconomic issue. And who's better qualified to talk about it than us veterans, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And so my hope is, with every veteran that I interview, and with every story being told, those who are watching will have a better understanding of what many of us who leave the service, what we encounter. And I also hope that those stories will also inspire change within the VA so that they will begin to implement change by, first of all, number one, having a homeless prevention process that actually works. Because if what they had, in fact, right now, if it was working, we wouldn't have 50,000 homeless veterans in the streets. And the second thing that I really want to see is for them to stop dragging their feet on our claims. And number three, to keep proper records. Several years ago, the VA lost my records for 3 months. So this happened when I first transferred here from Texas to Norfolk State, in fact, this very campus. And so for 3 months, they couldn't find me in the system. And I served in the military for 8 years. So for 3 months, I couldn't get housing benefits. I had no access to my GI Bill. And to my knowledge, I didn't have any medical coverage. But luckily, I don't get ever sick. So I have a very sour history with the Veterans Affairs. But I'm going to talk about you today. So you are an Army veteran, but you are also one of the 50,000 vets who are homeless right now. How does that happen? What happened to you?
I fell into a bad situation and needing a place to stay at the time, and ended up getting sick and had to get out of there because I could have died. With a virus they couldn't identify. And the veteran place was available. I had somebody refer me there. And I got a place just by a phone call.
That's wonderful. So how long have you been homeless then? How many months or weeks? How long has it been?
I don't know if you want to call it homeless, but not having my own place.
Okay, got it.
Ever since I guess April the 24th.
Of this year,
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay. Upon research, I found that there are many different levels of homelessness, and by definition, this is what it is. It says a lack of stable housing. That's what it means. So, help me understand where you were. So, were you, for instance, homeless in the sense that you were evicted from the place where you were living, homeless, or you were never in the streets? Were you ever?
No, not really in the streets.
Point?
No,
Okay.
no.
Got it. So, and how
It could have occurred if it hadn't have been for this referral to the vet house, which gladly said yes, come down. We got an open space, and I took advantage of it.
And how you heard about the vet's house? From where? From who?
A referral from a phone number that somebody gave me, and I can't remember the exact name of their organization.
Got it.
But they referred me there, and I called, and
luckily they had a
they had a bed space right then. He said, "Come on down."
That's wonderful. So tell us, what has been your relationship with Veterans Affairs in terms of you getting the benefits that you qualified and need?
All right, when I got out in '75 Vietnam era, I was honorably discharged. I didn't serve a long time in the service, but still I was injured while I was in there. And honorably discharged as a Vietnam era veteran. But they said I couldn't get anything.
Because?
They just said I couldn't. They were talking about, well, maybe you can get 10%. Then they said you couldn't get nothing. So for years I didn't think I could get anything. Kept asking certain people, and they said, well, you can't get nothing. And that there were still vets of my age and vets older than me that were still owed money, back pay. Yeah.
Wow.
So they eventually stopped that. You don't get no rears or no back pay now. They cut that out.
Really?
And from there, the day that you file, and when you do finally get it, you get paid back to the day that you filed.
Got it. So how did you fight their argument that you couldn't qualify for anything? How did you finally get them to give you what you deserved?
I guess the grace of God. The right person said contact the veteran representative.
Yes, sir.
He said, yes, you are eligible. You were injured, active duty.
Active duty.
Yeah, and I have a plate in my left wrist now due to injury back then that the plate was later on put in.
Okay.
But my right wrist there is still bothering me. They want to operate on that, but I'm hesitant on that because I put one plate in my left wrist. I don't need one in my right wrist.
Right.
So they're talking about pain and suffering, and and whatever they can do to rectify that pain.
Okay. So were you able to get 100% disability?
No, not of yet.
So you're still fighting it?
Well, no, I will get benefits for my wrist.
Okay.
For my wrist, I will get, yes. I don't know whether it's going to be 100%. Wow. They have to, the mobility of my right wrist, as you see, I can't go all the way down with it. So
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I can't go all the way down with it. I can't come up, and they check a mobility test. I can't go sideways but so far. Wow. And when I do any kind of work with it, it swells up.
Really?
So, I mean, I'm limited with it.
Because you work with your hands every day. You're a mechanic.
Yeah, and I'm a contractor as well. So I'm constantly having to use it. But it stays in pain, but I fight through it.
Got it.
But I will collect. It might not be 100% there. And if I operate on it, yes.
Right.
But I gotta weigh. That's what I'm saying. I've got to weigh the situation. Do I want an operation? Go 2 years, 3 years without being able to use it, to where I can eventually later on move my fingers like I do with my left wrist. I can't bend my left wrist at all. I have a plate fused in here.
So during the winter, it must be really tough.
It does get cold.
It gets cold.
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold.
Wow. So after the Army, because I have to ask you this, because there's been a lot of talk in the media lately about suicide. I don't know, have you struggled with PTSD or depression, anxiety, or
I was upset because I guess being lied to about the benefits.
Oh, really?
I was upset about that. To find out years later that I could have been collecting something all along.
Wow.
Yes, it's a small amount in there, but compared to all the years that I could have had it,
it could have been settled.
Yeah, I could have gotten paid more back then. They would have settled all the way back, and then they cut that out because the government just won't pay no more back pay.
I see.
So.
I got it. You know what? For those of us who are watching, oftentimes people look at homeless veterans out in the streets and they think they're bums, they're alcoholics. What would you say to them about what you know about us as veterans? What would you want the public to know about us?
Veterans have pride.
We have pride.
They just have, some of them, and I've seen a lot of them. I guess I'm a different set of it. But I've seen a lot of them out there that just, they don't know where to go, what to do, so they bum money.
Right.
They go in the garbage, they go in the trash bins. I've seen it.
That's the truth.
And they go to these spots hoping to get a bed space for the night. And if they're there first, they get a bed space. If not, they're back out in the bushes somewhere sleeping.
I agree.
And that's all they know.
That's true.
They might get a benefit check, maybe. Well, what do they do with it? They spend it on whatever because they don't care.
Right.
They've lost self-respect.
They have self-respect.
People like me, I have a business, okay? A lot of them probably had businesses and had homes and cars and stuff. They lost it all because nobody cared to help them. Nobody wanted to guide them in the right direction.
That's so true.
Give a helping hand, give you advice, take you to where you need to go.
Yes, sir. Direction.
And they didn't have that, and they still don't.
Wow.
That's why the vet house now is helping a lot of them with shelter, which does keep them off the street, but they have to take the initiative
to help themselves.
To put themselves forward.
That's so true.
And
you know what? I want to talk about isolation for a moment because one of the things that I've learned is from my own experience, with homelessness and sleeping in my car while going to college, is that life can put a lot on us, and especially when we get out, we're still trying to figure out who we are outside of the uniform and what we need to do next and where we belong, and on top of that, emotionally, we have to deal with PTSD sometimes, anger issues, depression, uncertainty about the future or unemployment. And sometimes our family and friends don't quite understand us. And so what we tend to do as vets is isolate ourselves from friends and relatives. And for me personally, it has been intentional isolation because since my own experience with it, I developed a sense of focus and purpose and urgency. And I got tired of people clocking me with the wrong identity and telling me what and who I wasn't. And so what I had to do was I intentionally cut off some relationships because I really wanted to focus on who I am, really am, and becoming. And so homelessness is a very unique experience, and it isolates us. And I just have to ask you this, sir. Have you ever thought about suicide? Has that ever crossed your mind?
No, not really. No. I took military when I got out, and over the years I've never been homeless until just recent with it, with this small situation. Yes. But it's when you're in the military, you're structured. You're told what to do. You're controlled. You're guided. And the ones that fell short to be released early or whatever reason, they don't have that structure no more. They don't have the guide, the father figure or per se, or mother figure per se. Somebody to say, go do this, let's go do that, or you need to do this, you need to do that. They don't have that now. And without that, they're stuck in limbo.
They're lost.
Yeah, they don't know right or left. And if the people would take time, like you have certain, I can't mention their names, but you have certain representatives and you have certain specialists, resource specialists that are veteran oriented, that will guide them in the right direction if they're willing to accept the guidance.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think vets we have, you know what, we have a lot of pride.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But
yeah.
we also have to learn to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yes, and I got out of the situation because I had guts, and I had to learn to ask for help, but going to the right people. And I think the problem is with many of us veterans is we're so cautious about being judged that we don't actually ask at all. And so you have to learn how to ask the right people.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that folks who are watching and listening will understand that, you know what, we all go through it, and the average American actually is one paycheck away from becoming homeless, because most of us live from check to check. And so my story may not be the same as yours, but we really are the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you this, sir. Because I know homelessness can strip us of our self-worth and dignity. How would you describe yourself outside of that experience? Who are you? Who's Robert?
I'm still Robert Minetree Jr.
Okay.
I still have a business that my dad asked me not to let go, to keep it going.
That's wonderful.
His death words were, keep the business going.
That's awesome.
And I refused to let it go. And I right now it's still there. The contracting business, I had it since '82 in my family's name.
That's good.
I'm doing mechanics work as well with a very good friend of mine.
Yes, sir.
And so I have two things going.
That's good. So you have a plan.
I have an agenda always, and I have a to-do list I keep in the back of my mind. And I check that list off in the back of my mind as I get it done.
Okay.
When you focus on something, if you stop, you might as well turn around and keep on going.
Right.
If you're going forward, go forward.
Okay.
If you lie down, you might as well put dirt on yourself. And a soldier was never taught to lie down.
That's right, absolutely. So tell me, Robert, what life lessons has homelessness taught you? What can you share with folks watching?
That there's hope and there's chance for anybody. Okay, so you might have felt short for a month or a day or a week, some maybe for years.
Right.
The ones that have fell short for a longer period of time have a harder struggle to come back into reality.
Right.
But if you've ever had reality, you know where it's at. You just have to reach there and get it and pull it back again.
That's true.
And some can't do it without the guidance.
That's true. Do you feel that this experience has made you a stronger, better person?
Oh yeah, it's given me more focus, more thought.
More thought to what?
To strive more for your goals.
That's true.
Everybody has goals. Everybody wants something. At least your self-dignity.
Right. That's
If anything, you at least get your self-dignity back.
That's good.
Then step forward into the rest of it. If you look at that, look in the mirror is the main thing. Who am I?
Who am I?
Who was I? Wow. Do I still want to be that, or do I still want to be what I am now?
That's true.
That homeless person.
Yes, sir.
No, some of them don't care. They want to be homeless. They don't know nothing else. They feel comfortable. Right. They feel neglected.
Do you think they're addicted to the struggle? That's all they know?
It's,
Perhaps.
I think so, yeah. Because they get it handed to them, they go to these food places, they get a night's sleep here and there. Where's the dignity of your own self to want what you had and do it yourself?
I have met quite a few of them who, they don't want to be on camera, but they talk to me on the streets. And two of the things that they tell me they want the most from the American people is they want to be respected. Of course, they want a place to stay, but they also want their dignity because, apart from the experience, and it could be with alcoholism or with drugs or whatever, but that sense of pride that they had when they wore that uniform, they still carry that. They want to be respected. I remember one young man, his name was David, he was from Atlanta, and I met him, this actually was right here in Norfolk, and he was panhandling across the street from Popple Hall Drive. And I pulled over because I really wanted to talk to him. So he had been sitting there for a good hour, and he was trying to collect money to get a room at a Motel 6. And so he decided to have a partner with him, and he had collected $7 by the time I got to him. And so, and he told me, Yasmin, before you got to me, a guy pulled over and he spit on me. And he said, what do you mean he spit on you? He said, he spit on me. And my heart was so broken. And I went back to my car and I gave him my gas money, $20, so that came up with $27 because I really wanted him off the street. So, because it was around Thanksgiving time frame, was getting cold. And just imagine, you serve your country and you have a stranger spitting on your face because you are out in the street just asking for money. Our vets want to be respected no matter what. And I think that's what the American people need to understand, try to see beyond the person, the situation,
the stigma that you've been put into.
Exactly. This is a human being. This is a child of God. And it just completely floored me.
He laid his life down for the country, and then he feels neglected because nobody wants to give him praise for what he done. Not the praise for how he is right now. They don't want to pick him up. He wants to be picked up, but they don't want to pick him up. And speaking on that note, if political people would look at this and see this and somehow put funds to the side to open up more vets house like the ones on North Oceana Boulevard, that is a structured place. And they will if you go in there, and there are some people that need to be there right now, but if you go in there and you really want help, they'll help you there. And if they could, like I said, our political figures would put the funds to the side to have something like that in each locality.
Every city, exactly.
In each locality, exactly.
Absolutely, I agree. And that's my vision with this project, so it will pick up, because Mr. Smith can't do it all. He's just one person, and he's been phenomenal. He's been good to me. I want to ask you something else. If you were an employee, Veterans Affairs, in terms of you having the power to write policies, right? What would you do to make life better for military men and women?
When they gotta have a place for them to go to if they need it, from the get-go. Find out if they have a family. Find out if they've gone through marital separation towards the end of, or even while they were in. That plays a role on a lot of homeless vets out there that have lost their loved one while they were in there, divorced.
That's true. The military, we have a really high divorce rate.
And that plays a mental factor on the mental factor of being in certain situations in the military, wherever they're at.
Yes, sir.
So that's a double whammy.
That's a double whammy.
And then they can't get out of that. It scars them. They've been scarred from military. They're scarred from a marriage. They're scarred when they get out because nobody guides them in the right direction to get the right choices made on their benefits or whatever.
Right.
Or do you need a place to stay? Do you need help when you get out? We have somewhere for you to go.
That is awesome. That's a good one, sir. If you could have a conversation with the Veterans Affairs, the Secretary, or with even with Mr. Donald Trump, or let's just assume somehow they find this video, you and I talking, what would you want them to do? What would you want the Trump administration to do for veterans? If you had a conversation with Trump, what would you say to him?
Even with Donald Trump, I know he's done some stuff recently for the vets.
Okay.
But you have a congressman named Bobby Scott.
Yes, sir.
That is veteran-oriented and strong veteran-oriented. He would be someone that would, I think, get together with certain other political figures and said, look, we need to put some funds together some way, shape, or form and allot it out to certain localities where it's governed by the government.
Okay.
Then you would have places that would help people. You wouldn't have homeless.
We wouldn't have homelessness. No. And I think the approach should be individualistic. You can't have a program and you try to fit everybody into the program. We all leave the service with different issues, different needs, different concerns. So you can't have a one size fits all program because it doesn't work. Because if it did, we wouldn't have 50,000 veterans still out there struggling, including women, by the way. We make up 8% of that population, and that number is actually growing. It's increasing, and I'm shocked by that. And I didn't know this until I actually went through it myself. So, women, we go through it just the same.
But see, that goes back to where if they have certain issues of being released from the military, medical-wise, post-traumatic stress or whatever. Or sexual trauma, yes, that's happened a lot. That needs to be addressed before they're released. And then guide them to a place of shelter that fits that category. Or that nature of treatment they need.
Right. Yeah. And another thing too, I think you mentioned this earlier. We can't be too. There's power in giving our pain a voice. First of all, it clears the mind. It gives clarity to the mind, so we can think, logically. And I think also because there's been such a rise in conversations about suicide in this country, we need to make people feel more comfortable about going, seeing a shrink. There's nothing wrong with talking with someone, like a psychologist, because if I have a heart problem, I'm going to see a cardiologist. If I have a foot problem, I'm going to see a foot doctor. So why should there be a stigma attached to seeing, a shrink? And there's nothing wrong with that. And it helped me a lot, that's for sure. I have no shame in talking about that. Yes, sir. Yeah. So one last question, Robert. What are your hopes for the future? What do you want?
Well, right now everything is falling in place.
Okay, good.
I mean, to have my business running 150% like it was, it's running, I guess, now about 85-90%.
Yes, so can you tell us what kind of business you have again?
I'm a contractor. I can build from the ground up, small commercial stuff and apartment complexes. I mean, I do it all from the ground up.
Okay.
And I've had it since '82 when I started it, my family's name.
That's wonderful.
And I take very, very strong pride in it. And I do mechanics work with a friend of mine, and it's a daily chore.
It's a daily chore.
And I do it from early in the morning till sometimes 10 o'clock at night.
That's awesome.
And that's on a 7-day basis. And if I can do it, and I'm 64 years old.
Wow.
Then anyone can do it and can.
You were 28 earlier, remember?
Well, I will stay 28 until I guess the day I die.
You have a young spirit, Mr.
Yeah,
Robert. I like that.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you too, yes.
Wow, YouTubers, this is all the time we have today. Thank you for watching. Listen, just remember to subscribe and push your comments down below. And listen, I want to ask you something, okay? I'm looking for some sponsorship in this project. And if you're interested in partnering up with me, go to gofundme.com/homeless veterans tell all, okay? And you can also find me on Facebook or Twitter, all right? And let me tell you what your support will actually do. Number one, it will support filming and funding for this project. And second of all, it will support any veteran that I come across who actually needs temporary shelter. Let me see what else I can tell you here. If you are interested in supporting Mr. Minetree directly, you can contact the Vets House, which is right here in Virginia Beach. The number is 757-724-8614, or you can visit the website, which is vetshouseinc.org. That's going to actually show up right on your screen. It's vetshouseinc.org. Now, I'm looking forward to your sponsorship and your comments, because I really believe in this project. I really believe in this vision, and I really believe in our veterans. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm leaving you with the words of Miss Ella Vincent. Be in peace and not in pieces. I'm Yasmin, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.